Hello, everybody. Well, I finally feel like making a video again, and I'm so relieved because when I go through these phases where I'm like, oh my God, I can't make another video, I don't know how I'm ever going to do it again, I feel sad about it because I don't want this to be the end, but it is like the death of an old way. It's kind of been a really challenging ego death for me and an opportunity for me to face fears about who I thought I had to be here, right? Because the thing is, I've done this thing with my YouTube channel over the years, and maybe you've done this too, by the way. You know, maybe you can relate to this, boxing yourself in to roles, to ways of being, to a person that you think you've got to be in order to be accepted, right? And it's what the whole conversation about self abandonment is about. But one of the biggest areas of this for me has, as I've said before, been this YouTube channel. And I get to these points where I'm just like, oh my God, I can't bear the thought of doing another video about avoidantly attached partners. I mean, can you imagine like the idea of talking about that for the rest of your life? It's not that I have anything against the topic, it's just that I have got to a different place and my whole channel has kind of been directed by my own evolution, right? You know, that's how it started, and then it became about relationships and manifestation. By the way, I've realized through the very, very helpful conversation that I had with a client who so lovingly wanted to help me yesterday, it was such a great conversation, that I've actually been rejecting parts of myself in each of my evolutions. So manifestation was something that I loved talking about, right? But because the whole thing became about my own relationship, it got all tangled up, like business and work and relationships all became one thing. And so I was like, oh my God, so stressful. Can't talk about that anymore. Can't. And it felt really difficult. I felt like I had to reject it. But actually, the whole thing is about creating the life and the love that you want. You know, that's what we're here for. That's what we're doing. That's what really, it's never stopped being about that. So I don't really want to reject that conversation anymore, because it is such a part of me. You know, I absolutely believe anything is possible. You can create what you want in your life. You can do whatever the fuck you think is possible. And whatever way that leads you is your life path for your personal lessons and your growth that you need in this lifetime. Okay. That's what I think. So we're not rejecting that. In fact, we might even bring it back into the conversation a bit and definitely reflect on the things that I've learned through that journey. And I'm not rejecting talking about avoidantly attached people. Although less, should we talk about it a bit less, please? Because honestly, can you imagine, like, I've been through, like you probably have, many of us have been through a very difficult breakup. Something happened, didn't go the way you wanted it to. Maybe someone was avoidant. But if you keep blooming talking about them and their avoidance, you just stay focused on them. And that is what's swept you away from your own life for ages. I'm not doing that anymore. Okay. And this whole thing now, this place where I'm at, is about reclaiming myself again. And hopefully it will inspire you to do the same thing. I literally do feel so much better ever since I've like actually shared how I'm really feeling about it, because I'm so much more than just an avoidant attached coach, right? I'm so much more than that. I'm so much more than a manifestation coach. I'm so much more, so many multifaceted things that I can be. And I want to bring them all in and talk about many, many things about life. That's why I called the living room, by the way, which is on today at 4 o'clock. If anybody wants to come and say hello, we can talk about whatever you want there. I know that sounds like, oh, you're not being very specific now. YouTube probably will get confused, but I don't care. I actually just don't care, because I'm sick of being boxed in, you know, and this is my channel and it's my space to express, right? And if we're not expressing, we are repressing. And I feel like I've been doing that for a very long time. So I'm going to be bringing in different parts of the conversation. Okay. Still things about what I've learned in relationships, still things about creating, you know, the life that you want, probably more decorating videos because I've got so many ideas for my house. motherhood, parenting. There's so many different conversations, and I would love to bring other people onto this channel. It can be anyone. It could be like you, right? I want to bring people on into the conversation to talk about life, about what you're going through, what you're learning, um, different thought leaders, different experts. I like talking to other people rather than just talking to myself. And so, not that I'm just talking to myself, obviously, you're listening, but sometimes I feel like it's just me here on my own, like, is anybody out there, sort of thing. And I know you are, and I'm really grateful that so many people have stayed with me for this whole thing. But actually, I feel so much lighter having shared honestly, like, how I'm feeling about this channel and about where the stuckness is. And again, maybe you can relate to that. Like, maybe you can relate to, oh yeah, shit, I am actually boxing myself in. That's why I feel trapped. That's why I feel stuck. That's why I feel like I've got to do this. And it is like, that video online with the ant, like someone draws a circle around the ant, and then the ant thinks that that's a barrier, like an actual barrier, and it can't cross the line, and it gets smaller. They draw the circle smaller and smaller, and eventually the ant goes over the line, and then it can't unknow that. It can't unknow that forever. Now it knows that it can go over the line. I feel like that's what's happened now by me doing sharing what I've been sharing lately. It's made me go, oh my god, that was like an invisible prison that I'd kept myself in, that I don't want to be in anymore. And again, like I'm saying, it's not to say that the conversation about relationships or avoidance or manifestation or anything is actually off limits. In fact, we're just bringing back whatever. Like, we're just bringing it all back. Like, I want to bring, like, not just a boxed in version of me, a limited version of me, but all of me into this. Because I did start to bring in the conversation about creativity and how important that is. But the thing that I think I felt has been difficult is like this idea of, what am I talking about? Like, what am I an expert in? And I realized that actually my expertise is just the lessons that I've learned in my own life. I've not got a degree. I've got a master's degree, by the way, in songwriting, but we're not only talking about that here. I haven't got a degree in psychology. I haven't got a therapeutic degree. I'm just somebody who has compassion and understanding for the painful experiences of life. And I know that whenever I'm looking for someone to speak to, I like speaking to people who've been through and understand what I'm going through and seem relatable and normal, and I trust them. So that's why it's important to me always to try to share with you as much as is reasonably possible for me to do without oversharing my whole life and giving away everything that goes on, because that's probably another thing that I felt I had to do um, in the name of authenticity. Um, but actually, I saw a video actually. Zoella. Do any of you know Zoella? Right, she disappeared off the internet, and all her fans are going, "She owes us. She owes us an explanation about why she's disappeared. We're all worried about her. We love her. She spent her life telling us about her life every day, in day out." And I'm like, no, she does not owe you anything. At any point, anyone is allowed to change their mind, disappear, go quiet, change direction, just whatever. It's your own life, and it's my life, it's Zoella's life, right? But you know who I really like, who I really admire, is Davina McCall. If you think about Davina McCall, she does so many things, doesn't she? She like has the Begin Again podcast. She helps people reconnect to their families. She does the Masked Singer. She does all sorts of things, radio. She does everything, and I love that. And I would like to be a bit more like that, So it's not just limiting to one conversation, which is what YouTube will probably want me to do. It will have to get used to it. The views will probably go down, and I don't want to speak that into existence, but it has been my experience. And you know what? It will change. I'm going to keep going with this, and it's going to change. And I'm really grateful for you being here. I'm okay. I'm better than I was, actually, now that I've aired this out and spoken to some amazing people. And looking forward to the future, accepting the past. That's what it feels like is happening here. Accepting what went right, what went wrong, and onwards and upwards. Anyway, have a nice day, and maybe see you in the living room.